Hey there, Leos. Welcome to my channel. I am Isaac. We're going to get into your reading for the month of September. So I'm going to shuffle up these cards and we'll get to it. If you have been enjoying these videos I've been putting out, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button, all that good stuff that everybody apparently you're supposed to say that in the beginning of the video, or else people don't do it. So comments, likes, subscribes, all that stuff. It's all helpful because this is a brand new channel. So any interaction is good. So let me do one more shuffle here. All right, let's get started. So I've been kind of doing this disclaimer at the beginning of my videos. I usually don't do like twin flame, soulmate, love readings, that kind of stuff. This tends to be a little bit more geared towards like spiritual development and evolution and transcend, working through the ego and stuff like that. So anyways, the Lovers, even though I just said I don't do love readings, the Lovers is the first card that just came out. Eight of Pentacles. We have the Ten of Cups. The Page of Swords, Princess of Swords, same thing. The Devil, the Wheel of Fortune, Six of Wands, and Two of Cups. So let's take a look here. So we're going to talk about what's on the surface, what's going on underneath the situation, and then the future and the advice. So on the surface, we have the Lovers and the Eight of Pentacles. The Lovers can be a very sort of deceptive card. A lot of times people see this card and they really read it just on face value, just because it's called the Lovers, that they think that it's about relationships. It's really not at all. It's actually more of a process that leads you to enlightenment. You see, there's a lot of deep secret symbolism in this card. You see how the male side is on fire and he's all in pain, but the female side is kind of enjoying herself, and she's got all these, her tree, that tree there is kind of flourishing, and there's the snake and the angel over them. This is kind of saying that the higher self has entered into your life. Higher angelic energies have entered into your life. And when that happens, it usually causes you to maybe feel like you're kind of out of control a little bit. It's kind of feeling like things are not as under your control as you'd like them to be. And you may or may not realize that this is because there is something influencing you. There's, the ego basically is kind of being burned away, because that's kind of what the higher self, the universe, kind of is all about. It's kind of what we're here to do, is to awaken. And so you may be feeling like you run into situations that kind of prod you into trying to control things, but then when you try, it may or may not actually work. And this can take some time. And with this Eight of Pentacles, it's like you're kind of working on this, embodying this mentality where you're learning to kind of let go of control a little bit, and recognizing that letting go of control does not mean that you're just submitting to chaos and everything's just going to be wild and uncontrollable or just chaotic. That's not really actually the case at all. The fact is that, the same way nature is able to take care of itself without any interaction, again, with this kind of the growing tree behind her here and the snake kind of whispering wisdom. And the snake actually kind of represents the movement of energy as well. So like the moving energy of life that causes everything to grow doesn't actually need to be like managed. It doesn't need to be controlled. It knows what it's doing. And really all we do with our attempts to control things is get in the way and then create stress for ourselves, because you may notice the more you successfully control things, the more your mind starts to kind of pick up momentum, and you start to kind of be like, oh yes, I am a powerful person because I can control these situations. But then you start to maybe realize eventually that every time, it's like every win you get when you successfully control something, your mind picks up a little more momentum, a little more momentum. And the more momentum the mind picks up, the more stressed out you get, the less, the harder it is to relax. And in the moment, it feels kind of almost intoxicating and enjoyable, but it's actually ultimately kind of bad for you, because it creates suffering, essentially. Whereas the universe is kind of trying to push you into a place where you're supposed to realize that you don't have to control everything. And the more you try to control things, the more you suffer. And the more you let go and relax and be in the present moment, the more the universe actually kind of starts to work in your favor automatically. And you start to run into all kinds of coincidences and synchronicities. And things kind of, that's what true abundance really is. It's the ability to have what you need and do what you need to do when you need to do it in that moment, not necessarily before. Doesn't always abundance doesn't always mean money. It's the ability. It's the idea that you are able to embody a state of being where things can kind of be taken care of on their own. Things can usually manage. Things can be managed even better than you can manage them when you sort of surrender that illusion of control. And so, you're working on this. It's a process. It's difficult. It can be hard to do because a lot of times the whole reason we try to control things is because we have these attachments. We identify with certain aspects of our psyche, with certain emotions, with certain things in the world. And when you start to let go of your attachment to those, it can feel like your identity is being threatened. You can start to feel very anxious. But it's a process that you're working through. I think you'll be doing so successfully. I think it's just a slow process because at the center we have the Ten of Cups, which is at its heart emotional transformation. Breaking through emotional blockages, finding that sort of sense of freedom in the present moment. And the Ten of Cups with the Page of Swords. The Page of Swords is kind of like it's kind of the lowest embodiment of air of thoughts. So again, this does kind of represent the type of thinking that the ego does. This sort of it's almost like an immature type of thinking, but it's natural. It's something we're all kind of here dealing with. It's something that goes back that started up probably thousands and thousands of years ago, and we're only just now starting to really break free of this very slowly as a collective. But it is happening. So this is something you've kind of been, I think, introduced to, and if whether you recognized it consciously or not, now you know. If you look at your life and the things that have been happening in the recent past, you may be able to kind of see areas where you thought things were going wrong, and then you got kind of you started to get maybe frightened, and you tried to control this thing, but then it didn't work. But then it wound up working out for the best, anyways. It wound up actually turning out better than you thought it was going to. You may be able to see things like this in the past, and in the future here we have the Devil and the Wheel of Fortune. So the devil is basically the representation of that type of attachment that I was just talking to, where we kind of get these. Really, it comes down to conditioning. We have our belief systems kind of handed to us from cultures, from our parents, from school, and as well as trauma. And these sort of belief systems, they're not just thoughts; they're actually emotions that are. It's like an energy that is an emotion, because emotions are energy, and that energy gets programmed with a sort of intention or thoughts, a belief. So it's an energy that is programmed with a certain kind of information, and then that gets stored in the body, and it usually ends up causing some kind of tension or pain or some kind of problem in your body. And that's why when you start to let go of these attachments, and these beliefs, that's why when it starts to feel very anxious and can feel a little bit like dying at times because you're identified with this collection of beliefs and traumas and emotions that are just trapped in your body. And when they start to disappear, you really feel it because they're tapped into your survival system. Because that's kind of what trauma really is. It's just a fear response that was too intense for you to be able to manage it consciously at the time that it happened. So then you cram it down into your subconscious, into your body, into your nervous system. And that energy just kind of sits there until you bring it into your awareness and process it. So there's an attachment here, I think, to really the Wheel of Fortune is kind of like the force that makes stuff happen. Basically, it's like when you experience the universe sort of just bringing you a synchronicity or bringing you something that coincidentally just happens to work out perfectly better than you could have arranged yourself. That's really what the wheel is. It's the force of the universe that kind of brings together all these coincidences and synchronicities. But there's some kind of attachment where you are maybe either trying to control that sort of synchronistic process, which just stifles the whole thing, or it could be that you're kind of just concerned about money and like controlling your situation as far as like getting things, basically like money, jobs, relationships, all that stuff. So the devil and the wheel here together are kind of representing this idea that you may run into this sort of blockage of what I've been talking about, where you start to feel the need or the urge to try to control things, and it may make logical sense. It may seem like, of course, I need to control this, or else, if I don't make this happen, it will never happen. It's not necessarily true. Your part is to basically do what you enjoy doing, whatever it is that your passion, your hobby, your joy really is, just do that, put it out there, and let the universe take care of the rest. And this Eight of Pentacles, again, can kind of represent your craft, whatever that may be as well. So maybe it's not just that you're working on trusting in the higher self and these higher powers that are kind of taking care of things. And because that's just how nature works. And we've just lost sight of that as human beings for the most part. It could be that you're learning to give that up to this higher self, this higher being, this higher intelligence of creation itself, of life, the movement of life itself. It's like the one consciousness of all things moving through your world, and you're learning to kind of give up the result of whatever it is you like to do up to the universe to let it take care of it. So instead of trying really, really hard to make sure you do everything perfectly and then put it out in the right place and try really and spend, and just try to control the whole thing to make sure you get as much possible benefit out of this thing as you possibly can, that will actually kind of spoil the whole thing and turn it and make the take something you love and turn it into something stressful. So that even if it is successful and you start making money or it has some kind of physical effect on your life, it ends up being not such a good thing, because then you kind of get trapped by the stuff that you're getting, the material benefits that you're getting, but you have to put so much time and energy into controlling the whole thing that it just becomes yet another stressful endeavor that really is like, if you're going to try to, for example, if you're trying to be self-employed, what's the point of being self-employed if all you do is stress yourself out doing it anyways? You may as well just go work for somebody else who's going to stress you out, you know? I heard somebody once said, the problem with working for yourself is that your boss is always an asshole. That doesn't have to be the case. Um, so anyways, the advice here, the Six of Wands and the Two of Cups. Feel confident in what you're doing. Know that you are good at what you do, whatever it is, and let that be enough. Let the people who resonate with what you do find it. You don't need to go way out of your way to try to force things to be as successful and popular as possible. Whatever this may be. It could be maybe you're an artist, maybe you have a business of some kind, or maybe just whatever your thing is that you like to do that could maybe possibly bring something into your life. Let go of the idea of the outcome, because the outcome will become stifled the more you try to squeeze it into existence. Just feel, the Two of Cups really represents feelings, like the act of merging your awareness with a feeling, like, which is kind of a fancy way of saying paying attention to what you feel in your body. The male side, the male always kind of represents the active consciousness, the ego, the individual conscious awareness, and then the female very often, especially in tarot, represents like the subconscious, the feminine aspect, the background of things. So you're kind of merging those two, your left and right brain together when you pay attention to the inside of your body and what you're feeling. You're merging the two hemispheres of your brain together very slowly. You start to build these little connections, and your intuition starts to grow. Your emotions start to process. You start to feel more energy. You start to feel happier. And typically things can kind of just go better for you when you go through this sort of process. And the Six of Wands, obviously we have this guy who's kind of lifted up above the rest. He's very confident. And this can even be taken a little too far and turn into arrogance if you're not careful, which is another pitfall of control. When you work really, really hard to make something happen, and you start patting yourself on the back because you think you did it all by yourself and the universe had nothing to do with it. No, it's all you, right? That ego swell that comes with that can very quickly turn into arrogance. And you know what they say, pride always comes before the fall. Eventually, no matter who you are or how mighty you've become, how elite you may have become in the world, the Wheel of Fortune can still find you, and it can dump you upside down in an instant. There is no guarantee of security. No matter how rich you are, successful you are, how powerful you think you are, the universe can reach out and touch you no matter where you are, what you're doing. And it will occasionally remind you of that. So you're kind of avoiding all of that. You're kind of avoiding that tower moment that can happen where you get a little too big for your britches because you're being successful. And this can happen, it can really slip in undetected. You might not even think of it consciously that way, but you start to get this sort of elevated, like, yes, I am quite something, aren't I? And the universe goes, well, yes, but not for the reason that you think, and comes over and kind of knocks over your little Jenga tower. So let's pull a few more cards here and see what else comes up. So what else we got? If you're enjoying these videos, check out my astrology video series I just put out recently for September as well. I did all 12 signs. Just go to my channel. They're all up already. I do offer private readings. If you're interested in those, you can find all the information down in the description below. Let's do one more shuffle. Leave comments. Tell me if you like these videos, if you hate them. Any interaction is positive. Uh, Ten of Pentacles. The Devil again. Ten of Cups. Let me pull a couple more. Two of Cups again. I think I shuffled these pretty well. I don't know why I'm pulling all the same cards, but that does happen sometimes. Six of Wands. So this is kind of reiterating a lot of what was just talked about. The Ten of Pentacles, in Kabbalistic terms, it is earth of earth. It is like the raw, just pure material. That's what it really represents, is just actual, just raw physical material. And in some cases, this can represent materialism, kind of falling for the idea that the material is all there is, because that's kind of what we're taught to believe. And when because that's what we're taught to believe, basically. But the more that you do this Two of Cups, this, merging your awareness with your inner body and becoming aware of your emotions and these sort of, the blockages represented by the devil, which kind of have to do with this deriving a sense of self from what you're doing, deriving a sense of ego, a sense of being above others when things go well. These things all go hand in hand, and that's what you're transforming here. And it's not to say that you specifically are such a materialist. This is a process that really every person has to go through eventually. It just happens that for whatever reason, if you're resonating with this in your life, that time is now. So if you have just kind of reiterate, if you have a craft, if you have a talent, a skill, whatever your thing is, just do that thing and let the rest take care of itself. Just put it out there, but don't suffocate the whole thing. Let it breathe. Let it do what it wants. Trust that there is more than just this raw, random, chaotic material world, and that there's actually order behind things. And you can see it right in front of your face everywhere you look. I mean, look at the way trees grow perfectly, the way without any interaction. Look at the way that you grew your own body without even meaning to. This incredibly complex, insanely, the body is insane. You look at the brain and just the way how insanely complex the nervous system is and how it's all put together. And you didn't even try. You just accidentally grew this thing before you were even aware of who you were. So nature knows what it's doing. It is, I think I'll just leave it at that. Nature knows what it's doing. It can work with you and not against you, but you have to work with it as well. And you have to kind of go through this process of letting go of these attachments, of deriving a sense of self, a sense of ego, a sense of I'm better than whoever or whatever from the thing that you are doing, from your craft. When you can separate your ego from your craft, your skill level will go through the roof, and people will automatically be drawn to you. You'll be working with the universe at that point, rather than just for yourself. And it becomes a collaboration between you and higher powers instead of you trying to shoulder everything yourself and burning out. So anyways, thanks for watching. Contact me if you want to get into a private reading. Check out all my other videos and take care. Talk to you soon.